Excited to dig in today. We've got a great topic talking about Anthony Hilb and his business. It will be interesting if Anthony shows up. He's usually Mr. Reliable, but Perry and I are struggling to get a hold of him. I hope he's not dead in a ditch, as I say for people that don't make it to my webinars or meetings. So
That's
dying in
right.
it,
And we're going to
dying
have
in a
fun
ditch.
whether Anthony shows up or not today. If he shows up at 12 minutes after, then great. But meanwhile, I've been working with Anthony for, I want to say 2.5 years, and Josh has quite a bit of experience in the lawn care and home services business because of other clients too. And what we've been experiencing is a really interesting stir fry of old tech, old school. One of the first entrepreneurs I ever became friends with was a kid in electrical engineering school. He might have been 5 years older than me, and he had Patrick's Mow and Grow lawn service, and he ran a whole lawn crew. And for me, being I was 19 years old, and if I was going to school with another kid who actually owned a real actual, like, I respected that. And but as you all know, a lawn business is something that you could run out of the back of your station wagon, which is exactly what Anthony did at first. But again, the stir fry is you can do a lot of sophisticated tech things as well. So,
Yes. There's somebody in the chat named Tana who says, I'm here. I'm assuming, I don't know if that Anthony got Tana's link somehow or if Tana's just letting us know. So, yeah, Anthony
all
got
right,
Tana's
well,
link.
that's a relief. We'll
Yeah,
go
so
ahead.
Anthony's here. I don't know if I can do anything with Tana
I
to, oh,
don't
you know
see
what?
an I don't see an Anthony in the
No, here,
participants. I don't know what to do.
Tana, I'm messaging you directly a link. Try clicking that if that works. I clicked on your profile. Maybe we'll just talk some trash about Anthony while he's sitting here and can't do anything about it. Yeah, so Anthony is in a very low barrier of entry business, and they are classically called commodity businesses where anybody can get started and you can get a few clients, but growing and differentiating takes some real skill, and which he's done. And he's in a mid market, small to mid market in Indiana. And I'm sorry,
Yep,
I'm Californian.
south of Indianapolis,
I'm
north of.
Californian, so everything like in the Midwest just blends together. I don't know all the different regions and stuff. But so he's done a great job. And it's so funny. He keeps commenting that he's getting it. But I don't know if that link worked. But I texted you a link. Go check your phone. It's on your phone to join as a member or as a participant panelist. So he's been in a very low barrier of entry business and has differentiated really well, primarily with tree service, which is a higher end home service. And the interesting thing is, as you start growing these businesses, as the scale picks up, there's a handful of different ways you can go. And the most common is you start getting into commercial. And this is really common in a lot of service businesses and even manufacturers where you get to a certain size. I'd say typically 3 4 million dollars, and the effort to keep getting the same size clients you've been getting isn't worth the squeeze because you can put in a little bit more effort and get clients that are 10 times the size, and you're able to create scale. And so in the landscape business, a lot of times when you get to 2 to 3 million, you start moving towards commercial. That's a very common track. Anthony had really focused on tree trimming arborist services, which is high end. The challenge is that arborist work requires a lot of consistent lead gen and sales, whereas mowing and blowing and fertilization and weed control and all those are recurring. So subscription businesses that you sell them once and you keep them forever. We've got another member in AMN, Ken Van Dyke. He's got a pest control business. Same kind of thing. You sell once, you serve them forever. And in Ken's business and Anthony's business, their clients last forever. So on the tree trimming side, it's a little different because you can get some repeat business, but a lot of times, yeah, we'll talk about what AMN is, Brian. A lot of times you do a big project and those trees don't need to be touched for 5, 6, 7 years. So Anthony has gotten to that size where he was trying to figure out what to do next, how to expand. And then there's a lot of options around expanding into other markets, other territories, setting up branches, secondary locations, whatever. And the thing that Anthony is so great at is he's incredibly coachable and able to execute really well. He's not able to execute getting the right Zoom link for today, but he's able to execute really well and he takes action fast. And
Well, not only
so
can he run a business without being there, he can even have a
run a
Zoom
webinar
call
without
without
being
being
there.
there.
Hey.
Anthony.
Is that Anthony or is it an AI avatar
that,
emulating Anthony?
that somebody spun up that
Hey, in the future,
Kyler's.
that's a possibility, but, or maybe it is now.
Good to
Well,
see you.
your avatar is very realistic because there's a reflection of cars driving by in your
the
window.
window.
So
Hold on,
that's
hold on.
very impressive.
There we go. Thank you for the patience, you guys. I was at a client at a very big job today I have to think of the politically correct term, out in the forest. How about that?
There you
And
go.
yeah, the Wi-Fi was figured that out when and sent me just now. So hurry, drive to the nearest location. So here I am. Thank you guys.
Yeah, you bet. Yep, you did. He did have a lawn to cut. I'm just glad you weren't dead in a ditch somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
So as you've moved up Planet Perry's ecosystem and joined AMN this last year, I remember one of the conversations we had back in September when we were meeting in person was around expansion. And
Yes.
you talk a little bit about growth and expansion and some of your metrics and some of the challenges and things you've wrestled with, because I think you've found some really valuable paths forward that have reduced your risk and likely given you something more interesting to tackle as opposed to just keep grinding away.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's been the biggest thing I struggled with actually was complacency right when we hit a couple million in sales, because I could pretty much live the lifestyle I wanted. But at this point, when you're talking about 80/20 to the second power, third power, and star principle and things like that, I really enjoy it. Just makes it more interesting to apply these things and see what happens. We're in a phase right now where it's really experimental, and the ideas that you and Perry and the others in Planet Perry share, it's just fun to implement it and to experiment and to see what happens. And so we've been doing that, and I've been growing anyway, past the point of complacency. And you guys really inspire me to keep going with it.
Well, and so that point of complacency, talk a little bit about your day to day and how that's shifted, because I think so many business owners, you just head down, you're putting out fires every day, chipping away. If you're getting progress, it's great, and you're chipping away at new opportunities, but it feels like Groundhog Day after a while, and
Yeah.
you don't really evaluate what's consuming your time.
And then when I apply what Perry's talking about, and obviously you and AMN, you mentioned these things, which is continue to delegate and work on the business more. I didn't do that too much because you can prematurely exit the business too. So I always did a healthy blend. Something about being an AMN though is you're surrounded by people who have done these things. So it normalizes it for you and it makes it more comfortable and easier to try new things instead of being the sole operator of the business. And that was another layer of complacency that I've recently had to deal with, which is, okay, I don't have to do anything at any given time. Like I don't have to do anything within the business because I have 4 different people trained to run it. But that's also a good problem to have. And so by listening to what you and Perry and other AMN members have to say about all that, I've applied that. And then you can grow even more because now you have all this extra free time. And now we're saying, oh, okay, let's go to the Tennessee market. One of our best employees ever is moving to Nashville, Tennessee. And there's other cities there that are just phenomenal as we're doing the research. Lots of trees, landscaping, lawn, and it looks like a huge market. Now, of course, we're going to have to experiment and see how that goes. But I'm so much more comfortable and I have so much less fear doing those things when half of the room is selling a product or service nationwide. Or there's always a few people in the room in AMN that have been through successful exits, or like Everbright, they're selling their product nationwide, even worldwide, I think. And when you see that and you get to, it's kind of like the average people, the five people you hang out with, you become the average. That happens in AMN so much.
And I think, like you said, having space. I talked at Perry's event last month, the Equity Summit, and one of my first things that I tackle with all business owners is how to free up their time. Because if they don't have time to think, if they don't have time space to get away and be proactive, it doesn't really matter what ideas they get, they're not going to get implemented. And so for anybody listening, I think if you're stuck in the day to day walking around like a fireman with two fire extinguishers in each hand, one in each hand, putting out all the fires that you likely started, and you can't even think about anything being proactive, and you get to the end of the day and you wonder, what did I get done today? that that's the first thing to focus on, is how do you free up your time. And so Anthony, like you talked about, getting four people to run it. What do those four people look like? What do they do, and how long do they take for you to get up and running?
That's the really nice thing, that we've had high retention with our management. And they've worked here for between 5 and 7 years, and they've done every single part of the business. They've worked in every single part of the business. But again, it was September of 2024. You guys were talking to another AMN member, actually, if he doesn't mind, his Rico, about
Mhm.
having two managers. And then the light bulb went off, and I said, I should cross train 3 to 4 people. That way there's always a backup. And then
Right.
so I went back after that meeting and did just that. I cross trained several people, that because he was talking about, we were talking about the fact that if you only have one manager trained and they drop off, then you're still stuck doing it. So I cross train a lot more now. So there's a lot more stability with that. So I'm not in a scenario where I have to jump back in. Because what happens if you have to jump back in a position like that, sometimes you get the momentum going and then don't switch back over. So I like to
Yep.
cross train people and do that. And then it also makes it better for everyone that works there, because you're not in one of those situations where if one of them takes a vacation, the whole company's a mess just because one person leaves. And just like you talk about in bottleneck breakthrough, Josh, it's exactly that. So I've been working on that so much, and it's really been paying off.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I do think that the redundancy, a lot of small business owners think, I've got a manager, they do everything, I can lean on them. And if I have to train others to do what they do, then they're redundant. That's how big business runs. They have redundancy everywhere, so that if something breaks down, if somebody misses, if somebody's out for an extended period of time, it doesn't
Hmm.
stop the whole business from running. And the amount of times Perry and I have seen companies where the owner really, they may have a great field general that can keep the trains running on time, but that owner gets a little disconnected from the business, and then that field general either gets recruited away, life circumstances change, they stop performing, and now the owner doesn't realize that they things are running poorly because that one person isn't staying on top of it. So talk a little bit about
Exactly.
where growth potential is for you now. What's the bleeding edge for what you're doing with your business, and the types of problems you're wrestling with today that are fun and exciting and new, that got you out of the doldrums and the rut that you were in before.
I had this huge breakthrough just with one of your comments during my hot seat at the last AMN meeting, which, because I was talking about a different kind of business model, and you made some suggestions that helped me come up with a hybrid model, which is we can go into other cities and states, but I want to do the hybrid model, like a similar to what we're doing here in Indiana, but also where it's flexible for the new operator, at least at first, until we assemble a team. But the business model I was going to move towards before my hot seat was just really small, almost micro locations, and almost like Uber for lawn care. Like you said, everybody tries to apply Uber or Netflix to their business. But I think what I'm going to do is go into those other key cities, basically 80-20, the other cities that we can go into. We're looking at the Carolinas as well, and just taking the appropriate amount of time. So realistically, my 3 to 5 year goals might be 10 to 15 year goals, or 7 to 11 year, 7 to 12 year goals, something like that. And I'm okay with that because it gives us the necessary time to assemble the correct team, a really strong team in each area where we go. And you also nailed it on the head earlier about going after the right commercial clients in our area where we already have branding. So that I think that's going to move the lever a lot as well, is getting, but we have set criteria now for commercial clients that we didn't utilize before. Like, we're not going to do the wait 6 months to get paid, but there are commercial clients out there who will pay in a similar way as a
Residential.
residential account. Yeah. And they're
And
going
I think I think you're touching on something that a lot of people don't realize is they think, oh, I'm going into a newer, bigger area. I feel a little insecure. I don't know all the rules of the land. And so then they let the clients dictate the terms. And like you said, maybe they pay 6 months. The reality is, you guys as business owners are creating your own reality. It's all make believe. Everything's made up. All the rules are make believe. It's whatever you want them to be. And whoever goes into those situations and negotiates from a position of strength, and I don't have to do this deal. I don't need this deal to continue paying my bills. This is a growth edge. This is something that we're expanding into. And you go in and you just change the terms and you renegotiate whatever fits for you. And if the client won't do it, then you walk away. And people think, oh, that's easy to say. You're a consultant. You live in an ivory tower. But the reality is that if you go in having those criteria, negotiating and being able to deliver value that's different from your competitors, that's different from what they're not getting, then they'll often bend to meet your payment terms or in terms of engagement or whatever it is.
That's
And
absolutely correct. We've done that. Yeah.
and I think that's the part that I I rail against so often, in this is how the industry's done. This is the way that it's always done or whatever. And that nobody is, people are so afraid to challenge the status quo.
Absolutely. And when you do, that's a gold mine once you actually do challenge that. And you telling us about that and about acquiring other companies. There's just so many growth ideas that I become more comfortable with the more I spend time with AMN, with all of you guys. And something I really like is that we have 2 meetings a month. So I feel like I'm consistently calibrating what's going on, instead of if we didn't have those 2 Zoom meetings every month. That keeps me dialed in.
In the acquisitions in your space, there's a lot of fragmentation. There's a lot of guys with one crew. They got 80, 100 houses, and you can acquire those so easily. So for people in other industries, if you're sitting here thinking like, gosh, I don't know how I could grow. I don't want to go get a new lease on a new warehouse or a new retail shop. I don't want to take on all this risk. The reality is, there's lots and lots of struggling businesses that have clients, have lead flow that you would love, that you could spin up and make more profitably. And you can approach them and work out any number of terms. I think Cody Sanchez, in her book, A Main Street Millionaire, she talks about the difference between pricing and terms. And I love this distinction because she got it from a mentor of hers. And she said, what's more important, the price I pay for a business or the terms I get it? And he said, terms all day. And she says, why is that? He says, look, I'll pay you $1 billion for your business. Would you do it? She's, yeah. He says, okay, but my terms are I'll pay you $1 a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll eventually pay $1 billion over whatever it was, 31,000 years or something like that. But it's the terms that matter. And this is the part that I repeat over and over. I was just talking yesterday, Perry, to the gentleman that you wanted me to talk to about buying out his partners and that I'd met at the equity summit. And he'd already negotiated a bad deal for himself. And so I told him, I said, change the terms, like just stretch it out, put it in multiple payments, make it so that the guy you're buying out has to deliver very concretely so that you aren't stuck. Because he was going to just pay him all cash up front. It was like to somebody that he may not trust. And it's like, you're just going to get screwed. So, Colin, your point about it's all made up. I'm going to expand on this a little bit here because if that resonated for you, I'm sure it resonated for others. I tell my kids all the time, like literally everything in this world is make believe, from the rules of the road to the products that we have. Everything's invented by somebody's imagination, all the way down to the rules of engagement of a relationship that you're in to the political structure that we follow. It all started with somebody's imagination. And as you guys are creating your businesses and you're feeling trapped, the beauty is you get to change those rules of engagement. Yeah, Colin, the nature of currency is made up. Exactly. It's all fabricated. And so as you think about, I'm frustrated, I'm stuck in a business, I have to do it this way, we just start unwinding. We start unwinding all of the constructs that you've made, from what clients you say you have to work with, the pricing of what you're offering, to the staff that you have. And it just takes the willingness to evaluate and look at it and do hard things and unwind some stuff that you may have gotten stuck with. So, yeah, Perry, let's get to the AI acceleration.
Anthony, you first of all, you came to an AI seminar a couple years ago, and the way I remember the story was you had to finagle your staff and your schedule just to be away for a few days, and that caused you to approach things differently. So as we get into the AI part of the conversation, can you talk about that shift that you made? Because that seemed pretty significant.
Absolutely. So yeah, it was May of 2023, if I remember correctly. And just to take 3 days or 4 days off, it led to, because I was a bottleneck, first of all, and then I'm going there learning about AI tools and ways to use AI. And it was our lowest sales week of the year just because I was gone for 4 days. And that was a rude awakening. And then I started to really, a lot of the things that you said at the seminar, I started to apply and really get honest with myself about what's going on. Those were probably the only 4 days I took off that year. And then the next year, I took off more time than I had in the previous 5 years. And so within 12 months, I really believe that that I had 10 years worth, because I got out of my way. I also started using AI for business ideas. And I believe that because I saw someone commented how to compress 10 years of business growth into 12 months. That's absolutely what happened, because it was a combination of using AI, but also you guys gave me permission in a way to make these changes that I knew I needed to make, but I wasn't, because I was being stubborn and hanging on to certain areas of the business that I didn't necessarily need to hang on to. I was too concerned to give other people complete control over these things. And so then what I did when I went back is, for example, one of the silly things I was doing is I personally reviewed every single estimate before it got sent, instead of enabling and like empowering our guys to do that on their own. But that's just, and there's so many situations like that, but it would have taken me longer to let go of those things if, in estimating in general, I was still going out and doing half of our estimates. But when I'm hanging out with you guys, it's, hold on, time out. Why don't you train 5 other people how to do that? It probably would have taken me at least 5 or 6 years to get out of my own way with estimates. But then as I'm combining that with AI and running business models with AI, AI is also saying the same thing as you guys. So at that point, okay, fine, I'll try it. And then I started working with Scott Shang every single week, and he's teaching us how to apply AI and then use our CRM. We're probably only using 10% of our CRM's ability. And then now we're probably at 40 to 50. We still have work to do. But over that 12 months, sometimes I would tell you there was 20 years worth of progress because I wouldn't even let myself take a vacation. I wasn't doing Renaissance time consistently because, again, that's another thing that compounds is doing Renaissance time every single day, and you keep getting all these ideas and applying them. Like in 2023, that solidified. I'm definitely doing Renaissance time every day now. And those little, it's like the small hinges swing big doors. Those little things that I apply consistently now, coupled with AI, and then also meeting with you guys in person and over Zoom twice a month, it snowballs, and it's this huge compound effect where within 12 months, I made 10 years of progress had I not done those things. Had I not worked with you, had I not learned more about AI, had I not worked with Scott Shang, it all just adds up.
So if somebody listening was surprised to hear that a lawn care company would find a bunch of use for AI, what would you say?
We use it for route optimization. We use it for business planning. We have an AI that can answer the phone and schedule estimates for us. There's so many different things you can do. There's so many ideas. It's all about prompting. It's all about asking really empowering questions. You give it your goals, and then it can create a roadmap for your goals. And then you say, okay, based on those goals and based on the roadmap, what should my schedule look like each day, each week, and each month? And it will give you action items for every day, every week, every month. And it just completely simplifies everything.
And I think you're using it for estimates too. Is that right?
Yeah. So Scott taught me how to build custom GPTs. So I put all of our SOPs, all of our numbers, all of our word tracks for our contracts. And I can take a picture of a tree now, since it knows all of our pricing and SOPs and everything. I can train an estimator. We call it Quote Builder 9000. I can train an estimator faster than ever. It used to take about a year for an estimator to really understand our pricing. Well, it can use this custom GPT that we created for estimates now. And it's scary how accurate the numbers are. And it completely nails the word tracks too. It doesn't miss any detail. Whereas a human, it takes about 2 years to actually train an estimator where they consistently remember all of our word tracks, all of our pricing, all
And
of
what's a
our
word track? I'm not familiar with
word
that.
track, like terms and conditions, but also how we do something. So, for example, if we grind a stump, it has to say we will grind the stump 6 inches
Below the
below
surface.
ground level. Yep.
Mhm.
And we will haul the stump grinding chips away to ground level. Just a little detail, but you'd be shocked how much a human will miss that little detail. And stumps can go 4 feet to 6 feet into the ground. And that gives the client an opportunity to say, hold on, time out. I want it all completely gone. So you need to go down 6 feet now, technically. But the AI, the custom GPT we created never misses that. It never
Well,
misses when I say word tracks, it's like the terms and conditions for how we do it and what to expect. We're always supposed to say, hey, it could take 3 to 5 years to really establish a full lush lawn. This needs constant maintenance. It's not a one and done type deal. And a lot of people go with us for that reason because we don't overpromise. We're not going to lie to get a job. We're going to say
Yeah, right.
exactly, and that we're going to say exactly what's expected. We're going to set the right expectations. And that's an important word track to not miss, because if you miss that word track or you miss that detail in the agreement, the client can come back on you forever and say, it didn't grow. And you guarantee all your work and this didn't grow because the right terms and conditions weren't mentioned in the quote. But again, the custom GPT we created it never misses that detail.
Mm.
well,
So
Anthony, when you said that you used to do half of the estimates, there's always a story why you learned that you have to do half the estimates. There's some really painful thing. There's probably several. And when we have a conversation with you, like, oh, really, Anthony, you're bottlenecking your whole business. First, you have to overcome the trauma of whatever led you to be doing it that way in the first place. And then you got to put systems in place. And then if you're going to have technological systems that do that instead of the people, then just like with people, you have to have safeguards. You also have to have double and triple cross checks on the technology. So it's not like you just stick a pencil behind your ear and ask ChatGPT a couple of things. This is why Scott's part of the AMN program, is because you can make anything sound easy. And so,
Yeah,
so
that's
what's
true.
been your experience of actually getting it to work as opposed to the Twitter version, the buy 97 prompts for $97 from my Twitter thing
Oh
version?
yeah. Yeah, sitting down with Scott and he'll show me the exact way to build the GPT, and how you can put a PDF file within the GPT that it follows to, little things like that. I didn't figure that out right away, but when you're working with someone like Scott, you learn way faster. And that was the case with that. And also, I'm around all of you all the time though, and you're always talking about how to use it in the most effective way. Everyone in our circle is. So when I always relate it to learning a new language, when you just move to the country that speaks the language, it's full immersion. I really feel like I have an immersive experience with you and AMN and Josh and everyone else, and I'm learning the language way faster. For example, if I just sat there with Duolingo or whatever it's called, it might take me 10 years to really learn how to speak a language. But if I move to that country and I have to, it'd probably be maybe a couple years, 2, 3 years, and I could probably get around.
My brother, who lived in China for 4 years, he said, you want to learn a language? Just get a girlfriend. You'll learn a language really fast.
There you go. That's
Yeah,
great.
that got me typing real fast in college because we were all on chats or whatever ICP back in the day. You'd have multiple conversations going, and guess what? My typing got really fast. You're right.
Lee Weaver's asking, what business functions do your GPTs serve?
So the
I
quotes.
yeah. Yeah, the quotes is definitely the best one. But the other thing is really dialing in. There's a self-reflection period you can have with it, and it obviously always responds to you. So you cut your time a lot just by interacting with it and giving it as much context as you can about your personal life, your business. And then you really dial in your goals with it, and then it will help you with the action items. Like I said earlier, that's really helpful because if it knows my, let's say, 5-year goals, then I say, okay, what are the best ways? And this is just a very simple use, but what do you think are the best goals to work on year one out of these goals, these 5-year goals? And the accuracy and how it breaks it down for you. And then you can break it down into a daily action list and weekly action list. That's just served us so well. Just something even that simple. It doesn't always have to be complicated. And then, Scott Shang's Moat Mapper, that's very insightful. Scott Shang's, and I don't know if he's made it public yet, but his Genius Flip, things like that, those tools take off so much time. If you were just learning out in the world by trial and error instead of interacting with GPT, and I like to call them running these simulations.
And I think that is where AI, the GPTs come in handy. Lee asks, do you really get the GPT to do the quote, or do you require a human to double check? And I think those are non-exclusionary steps that I don't know anybody who's currently having AI run completely autonomously without any oversight.
That's correct.
I don't. It doesn't exist yet. And I don't know that I'd want it to for quite a while. It's like the trust but verify stuff, right? So
Definitely.
you guys are using the Quote Builder 9000 to generate the price, get the report, the quote written
The
out,
description of the work
the
order. Yeah.
description of the work order, but then somebody still has to go through and edit it, right? Quality
Yeah.
control it.
We still double check it. The thing is that I can train a new estimator to at least show up and be friendly and get the quote about 96%. Whereas before, without Quote Builder, they'd maybe get half of the things right within the first month. And it would take a year or two to really get an estimator truly up and running. Whereas
Yeah.
now it's just a few weeks. And
So Lee's
yeah,
clarifying question is, how do you know the new estimator isn't missing something in your new quote?
our other staff still will go over it that night or in the morning. Our general manager goes through the quotes, but she has 60% less errors to fix.
Yeah.
Hey,
And I think that's a really great distinction right there, because I remember I had a client, when I was in grad school, I had a software venture I was trying to start, and it was for digital charting for nurses visiting patients in their home. And part of the motivation for this was the home care division of the hospital I worked at had 52 nurses, and they're visiting multiple patients every day in their home. And they've got the big 9 by 14 medical files, and they've got to fill out all this paperwork. And the compliance and follow through of those nurses with the paperwork was essentially zero. They'd get the basics, but then they'd bring it back and they'd just dump it on the manager's desk. And so the manager had a stack, two stacks on her desk, a mile high, that she had to go through in quality control and finish filling out for every nurse. And I said, why don't you just give it back to the nurses to complete? And it was like this huge giant dance, right, of accountability. But they would get nurses would turn over if you put too much accountability on them, because there was too many other jobs available for them. And so this poor manager was just stuck completing charts all day, every day. And so part of the solution that we built was in the digital system and the handheld tablets, was that the nurses couldn't submit it until all the fields were filled in. So they couldn't get paid if they didn't fill it out. And so it was just that kind of basic oversight. And then that manager was able to then just randomly go through and do a quick screen of all the charts. And now she could be proactive and be more of a manager. I think that's the part that people just don't think through, all the little implications of the systemic effect of using AI to speed things up.
And Anthony, you also did a cost reduction exercise. Can you talk about that a little bit?
cost reduction exercise. What we've done is in certain scenarios, because we like to have the pipeline full to an extent. So one of the scenarios with cost reduction, in order to keep the pipeline full and customers happy at the same time, I was brainstorming with chat recently and said, what kind of incentive or discount could we use to say, hey, you get an extra discount if you're okay with us taking care of your project in 3 months from now. And it gave me this idea. It said the flexible scheduling discount. And so now they're happy to wait because they get an extra discount. Our employees have more stability because we have 3 months worth of work in the pipeline.
Mm.
It was hard to get 3 months of work in the pipeline before that because everyone wanted it right away. But if you give them a discount to wait, now they're like, okay, great. I'm getting a good company that's reliable. I know they're going to do it. It's high quality. They guarantee their work.
It's like
They're
the
just
opposite of
making,
surge pricing. Yeah, flex
yeah,
pricing
yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
And we have some surge pricing things going on too with emergency work. But that was one of those issues where we kept brainstorming with that for a while and then ran it through AI. Oh yeah, do a flexible scheduling discount. Oh, great. And so many people are signing up for that now. And so problem solved. That gives us so much more peace of mind when we have 3 or 4 months worth of work booked in the pipeline. And also all of our mowing clients prepay for the whole season during the months of January, February, and March, which has also been fantastic.
So, Anthony, I feel like the real Anthony story, in addition to everything else you said today, is that you caught this gust of inspiration maybe, I don't know, about 2 years ago, and you latched onto this idea that Anthony's lawn care could be a juggernaut and not just like a pleasant job, I think
Right.
before it was like a perfectly pleasant job for you, but you got this whole other idea in your head that it could be an adventure, that you could play all day, that you could just continue, that like you could be in your play zone. These are my words. What caused you to flip that switch? And how do you keep the switch flipped? Because inspiration isn't always the easiest thing for people to hang on to. So, what's the
Oh,
process for
yeah,
you?
completely. So when you and I did our first 1 day event back in December of 2023, it could be a 1 day meeting and that's fine. But if you couple that with roundtable and AMN, you have that now I have this constant engagement and things are being reinforced and positively reinforced with you. And then it creates this situation where it's a positive feedback loop. And now I have more time. Since I have more time, I have more time to experiment. This experiment works. So now our sales go up, our profits go up. So now I have even more time to experiment. And it just becomes that positive feedback loop now. And that's where I am with you guys. It's this snowball effect, compounding's happening. And it's been incredible because then it does become fun. It does become a situation where you're actually playing.
So, there's another piece that I also think is interesting, which is sometimes businesses get really successful and then the business owner just starts living a life of leisure and they get themselves in trouble or they get bored or they get, I don't know, disillusioned or something. You've managed to stay very engaged in enjoying the game that you're playing. What is it that's keeping you interested in the game instead of bored and oh, I think I'm going to go to Monaco and oh, I think my wife needs a 10-carat diamond ring. Like sometimes people get into, I don't know, they're showing off or they're living some fantasy that they don't end up enjoying, but you're staying on task. What's helping you do that?
I always did a blend, even from the early days of 80/20, where I would blend 80/20 with also getting in the field and working. And then, so then we had this realization last year. It was October of last year. And I talked to you about it. I talked with John McGee about it. And, and I think I talked with you guys about it in AMN, which was, okay, I don't have to do anything now, but I think I'm going to go do some landscaping or go do some tree trimming. And then I realized how much I actually do enjoy the work we do. I didn't truly understand how much I enjoyed the work when it was a have to, when it was a, oh my gosh, if I don't go help trim that tree or go do that landscape job, we're going to have a really bad week or month and we're going to be short financially or whatever. Since we've grown and we have so many employees now and everything, that's never a have to. It's never been a have to since I started working with you guys since 2023. I might have had some weeks or maybe a month here or there where I'm jumping in doing some estimates or something, but it's never been a long amount of time. And also when I do go on those vacations or take time off and then come back, I also have a whole new appreciation for it. So this strategic time off and also realizing I didn't know how much I liked this work and I wouldn't have really truly understood how much I enjoy it if it was always a have to and now it's a get to. Now it's like John was talking about sweet life at the last meeting and he has to feel rebellious. If I go out and mow a lawn on a random Tuesday, that's almost like a sweet life thing because I know I'm not really supposed to be doing that as the owner growing this company. So it's like a rebellious thing and it's funny. Now, if I had to go mow lawns for 3 months or something, now it's a different category. But if it's a get to and it's funny when I go out and mow a lawn or something or go be engaged. And also, I've been able to develop way better relationships with all of our staff because I have more free time and less stress and all this. So that's another positive feedback loop again.
I think building a successful business is a slalom where you have to avoid bankruptcy and you have to
Yes.
avoid working 18 hours a day and you have to avoid burnout, but you can't just lapse into mindless leisure And so I think what you're describing is a balance where, hey, it's a beautiful October day and my crew is taking down a tree. And I like being out here taking down trees. And I like shaking hands with a customer. And I like that I don't have to be here, but this is a perfectly good, wonderful place. Like I'm in Southern Indiana on a beautiful day. And
Yeah.
I'm doing things I like with people that I like. And I'm inspired by colleagues that are in other businesses and I like them too. And I can cross pollinate. Ken's in the pest control business and Nura's in the employment business and Lisa Marie's in the coaching business. And we got all these different people with all these, and you get to pick your friends and you get to decide
Yeah.
who you're hanging out with. And you're not, Megan Macedo has this term. She says, most people think they want freedom because entrepreneurs talk about freedom all the time. Of course, we know we came from some job where we didn't have any. So that's legit. She said, people don't really want freedom. They want containment. In other words, they don't want to just lay on a yacht. That gets boring.
Yeah.
They want meaningful work that engages their mind and their heart and their body and their senses and their intellect and their passions. And to be able to do that in an enjoyable way and not be scared that some 2x4 is not going to conk you in the head tomorrow morning because you can see all those things before they ever show up.
Yeah. One situation I had was it April of 2024 at the AI seminar? I went right up to Mark Riffey and said, hey, you don't have to work. That was one of my first encounters with this up close, which was, because I love my work. I sold it, but I still get to work there and I can work from wherever I want. It's meaningful to me. I built the company. Yep. And then I had that light bulb moment with him at the AI seminar in 2024. And then I've met other people that are the same way, where it just becomes fun. It becomes a get to. And then all of a sudden, when it becomes a get to and you don't have to, it grows even faster. And also the proof of all this from April of 2023 or May of 2023, when I first really started going further with you guys. Since then, we've doubled the size of the business since the summer of 2023 in sales and in profit.
That's fantastic.
So
yeah.
Like it's good to be in a community. And I remember when I went to that seminar the first time, I said, oh my gosh, I'm home. This is my home. This is where I belong.
Yeah, that's about 42% year over year compound growth. And that's where I find we got everybody's AI chatbots commenting in here now.
Deleted.
Yeah. But about 40 to 45% growth is all it takes to double in a couple years. And you continue it and you'll be amazed at how fast that growth happens. I see this all the time with clients when we focus on bottlenecks, that unlocking bottlenecks, just the next bottleneck, creates growth. And it's typically between 40 and 60% for most small businesses year over year. And you do that a few years in a row and the business is completely transformed. Thanks for getting on here. Thanks for talking about your story. Thanks for telling everybody how AI is helping you, how AMN is helping you. For those of you that don't know exactly what AMN is, it's called Advanced Mastery Network. It's a 12-month program. And I know Perry and I don't look like we ever age, but we're going into our 8th year of doing this. It's crazy to think that we've been doing this for 8 years. But it's a fantastic program built for businesses in the $1 to $4 million range and above that are trying to get unstuck, trying to either grow and create scale that is sustainable or convert their business into a really well-run cash cow that gives them as much time off and as much cash flow as possible. And the goal is always to have a better business that you enjoy running and that can be sold for maximum value whenever you're ready to get out of it. So if you're interested, I'm going to throw my email in the chat. You can just email me and we can talk. And
Josh@perrymarshall.com.
Yep. And so
Josh Long at Perry.
They both come to me now. So I got it fixed so that Josh comes to me too. Perry used to have another Josh on his team. So we got them all coming to me now. And if you're interested, the conversation will be really light. It will be useful. I will dig into your business and try to help you unlock some key bottlenecks just in the conversation. There's no pressure. The way that we structure this is it kicks off at the beginning of September. We meet every other Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern. And we spend an hour going over some topic. Sometimes we have a guest speaker come and talk about selling their business or some fascinating thing that they solved in their business that's really useful for our members. We meet in person. This year, we meet in Chicago every year in September and May. And this year, the first meeting is September 15th to the 17th. And so we get together, have dinner on a Monday, spend all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday this year. And then it'll be early May next year, same kind of structure. And the program's been priced, price has changed all over the years. We've gone up and up. We've brought it back down as we've found that the market is tighter for some people, and we make it fit your budget. It's $50,000 if you pay all up front. We have payment plans, and if you sign up by the end of the month, which is just a few days away, we'll knock $5,000 off of that. But reach out to me, schedule a call. We'll have a great time. We'll figure out where your business needs to go, what you need to solve and get unlocked, and if AMN can help. So, Anthony, this was great. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Looking forward to digging in with you guys as you are interested in AMN. And as always, Planet Perry is here to keep helping your business grow. So keep paying attention to stuff Perry's putting out.
Anthony, I'm really proud of what you're doing. So keep the hammer down.
Hey, thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Perry.
Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.